Right, it's just preparing. Right, we're now live. So welcome to this meeting of the Revolving Investment Fund Committee. First meeting of the municipal year, and our first item of business is election of chairman. Do I have any nominations, please?
Nominate Councillor King. Oh.
Seconded.
Do I have any other nominations? No. Right, can take a vote on Councillor King as chairman then, please. If you just raise your hands. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Councillor King, over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. We need to now appoint the deputy chair for the forthcoming municipal year, and I'll invite nominations. And to help that process, I will suggest Councillor Julie Young. Could I ask for a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Teresa got there just ahead of the leader of the council. If there's only one nomination, and there is, would this show, please, that our position? Are we content to support?
That's unanimous, Chairman.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, so welcome and introductions then. Welcome to the members of the public and obviously to councillors on this call. This meeting is being held remotely in line with the provisions of the regulations introduced by the government to enable local government decision-making meetings to be held remotely. This meeting is being broadcast on the council's YouTube channel. This meeting will also be available to view on the council's YouTube channel afterwards. Councillors and officers taking part in the meeting are please requested to mute their microphones. Please activate the microphone when invited to speak. Turn the microphone off again when you've finished speaking. Visiting councillors, members of the public and officers not taking an active part in the meeting are requested to turn off their cameras until they're invited to speak. Please indicate to speak by using the raised hand facility, and I'll ask you, Richard, to help us monitor that. Let me introduce myself as the chair, David King, the Cabinet Member for Business and Resources. I now want to invite the members of the Cabinet to confirm their attendance and introduce themselves in the following order of the agenda. Councillor Mark Corey.
Good evening. I'm Councillor Mark Corey, Leader of the Council, Portfolio Holder for Strategy and Communications.
Councillor Teresa Higgins.
Hello, I'm Councillor Teresa Higgins. I am the Portfolio Holder for Commercial Services.
My introduction has been made. Let me turn to Councillor Julie Young.
Good evening. I'm Deputy Leader of the Council, Portfolio Holder for Culture, Heritage, the Local Plan and Performance.
And many other things as well. Thank you, Julie. And let me invite the officers in attendance to introduce themselves, please, starting with Ian Vipond.
Good evening, I'm Ian Vipond. I'm the Strategic Director for Policy in Place.
Thank you, Ian. Paul Cook.
I'm Paul Cook, Head of Finance and Section 151 Officer.
Thank you. A weighty responsibility, Paul. Andrew Tyrrell.
I'm the Client and Business Manager for Colchester Borough Council.
Thank you, Andrew. And Paul T. Smith.
Good evening. I'm Paul Smith and I'm the Group Commercial Director for Colchester Commercial Holdings Limited. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And Richard.
Richard Clifford, Lead Democratic Services Officer.
Right, the provisions in the Constitution around time of breaks will apply to this meeting. Members of the Cabinet, please give notice if you need to move away from your screens, even for a moment, if you would. But I'd hope that we won't have to head past 7:30 to 8 or more. Right, item 4, urgent items, Richard.
There are no urgent items, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And clearly substitutions, we have none, is it correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Can I, for the record, ask, invite Cabinet members to declare any relevant interest, please? That's pecuniary or otherwise.
There are no indications, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Item 7, we're cracking on. Minutes of the meeting. Please can I invite Cabinet to approve the minutes of the meeting of the 13th of November. We won't take a roll call, just raise hands if you are content.
Chair, are we able to take the confidential minutes at this point as well, Richard, or do we have to do that later?
No, if you don't wish to discuss them and you're happy to take them at this point, that's fine. If we wanted to go into discuss them in length, we'd have to go into a private session, but if you're happy, then we don't.
Then can I ask the question, do Cabinet members or others on this call need to talk through any details set out in the confidential minutes?
No.
Right, then in that case, could we sort of take a show of hands on whether we're content to endorse both records?
That's agreed, Chairman, unanimous.
Thank you very much indeed. That's very disciplined of us, isn't it, in the circumstances? Thank you, Mark. Right, item 8, have we any have your say?
There's nobody registered for have your say, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, item 9 is a general update on funded schemes. I'd like to invite the portfolio holder for commercial services, introduce the report, and then open up that report for discussion with the committee. Thank you. Teresa.
Yes, hello, and thank you very much for allowing me to introduce this report. This report gives an update on the revolving investment fund funded schemes. The actual outcome of this is where to note the contents of the report, but I will take you to item 5.1, where the RIF was set up to recycle capital receipts into high performing investments for the council in order to produce income. And we have done very well on these things, although I think COVID has given us a bit of a damper on some of them, but some of these projects are still going ahead. So you've got the Northern Gateway Sports Park, you've got the Northern Gateway South, you've got the town centre, and I'll just highlight a couple of things from the town centre because the Jacks project has gone really, really well. And I went to see some of the excavation work that they've now produced at the Roman Circus Centre. And when it's reopened, it is really worthwhile going to see all the different layers that were excavated at Jacks and how long it took to actually get that project off the ground, because I think one thing we've got to remember that when we dig up our town centre, there'll always be some archaeology, and it's always more exciting than we'd ever expected, and it's always unexpected. So it causes us a few problems, but the end result is we have a good building for the Three Wise Monkeys, but we have some wonderful archaeology to record the history of our town. We then go on to the East Colchester projects, and then we go on to the digital strategy, which actually is one of the best things that could have happened to Colchester. And this will make such a difference to so many places in the town centre. So, Chairman, I'm just giving a very short outline. If people want to ask questions and ask questions of the officers, I'm open for them to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to take this perhaps in the logic of the paper and just see what we might want to draw out, any member or indeed I know Paul T. Smith's on the call. If Paul wanted to add anything, that's obviously an opportunity for him. So Northern Gateway Sports Park, I think the most important thing for me here is to acknowledge that these delays are primarily driven by coronavirus. And that includes obviously and ultimately to the opening, which is something we really look forward to. I wonder if Paul Smith might want to just give us a sense of the residual difficulties on the site, which have been not in our gift, have been around planning and highways and just give us a sort of sense of confidence about closure. Paul.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. So the Northern Gateway Sports Park is due to be construction complete in November of this year, and that is going very well. Some of you have had the benefit of having a visit to the site, and you can see that the construction work is well advanced and is very much in line with being completed by the 30th of November of this year. As you can see on the report, due to COVID and the effect that has had in the marketplace, a decision has been made to delay the opening to the general public to the 22nd of March. We have been very much in consultation with the other activities, the sporting activities, Colchester Rugby Football and the archery, so that they're very much aware of this, as is Phil Coleman and the academies. We're also very much progressing the Section 278 works, which is all the highways works. So we're very confident that the Boxted Road and the Seville's Lane works will be open, which will give pedestrian, cycle and equine links through the sports park. The Junction 28 works, which have been noted earlier in this meeting, they are ongoing and they are being complied with Highways England and making sure that the various lane closures of the slip road for the safe installation of the pedestrian crossings over Junction 28 will be completed by the long stop date of April 2021. Without the COVID, we were hoping that we could possibly get this work complete by January 2021, but with the lockdown number 2, that's going to put strain on that. So as much as construction activity can continue, there is obviously issues with regard to the supply chain. But that again is going to be in compliance with the opening of the sports park under the amendments that we have got to open the sports park with the Boxted Road and Seville's Lane access is open. That's all I really want to say on the sports park. If there's any questions, I'll move on to the Northern Gateway South Chair.
Thank you, Paul. If you just stay there for a second, if you don't mind, I'd like to say we'll just do this section by section. Teresa.
Just to say, Chairman, that item 10 is also meant to be a verbal update on the Northern Gateway Sports Park from Andrew Tyrrell. So I don't know whether we want to combine the 2 items together now and let Andrew give an update as well before we move on to other items.
I'm happy to do that if Andrew's in a position to do that, if it's just verbal. We had talked about images as well, but if those aren't available, then, but even if they are, they could perhaps play in here. That would be, thank you, Teresa. That makes lots of sense to run it together. Paul, I assume you're content.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Andrew.
Thank you. So I think Paul's probably just stolen some of my thunder on that, but as he's delivering the project, I will let him off. So I think I was just going to give a reminder as to, it's a £28.7 million sports park, wonderful facility that will draw regionally in terms of some of the elite events, but also right down to day-to-day living for Colchester residents, such as family walks and so on. So the sports park is not just about those elite sports, but it's for everyday use by all. And that's supported by the fact that the sports park brings with it access for all facilities with adapted cycles for wheelchair users to go to the sports park to use, learn to ride coach for people that have never ridden before, and right from that basic level of skills through to the elite sports that we'll have there. And that facility has been made possible by funding from C&G South, by Homes Infrastructure funding, and by some sporting bodies funding. And of course, that provides this wonderful facility here that then allows us to do the development of the rest of the Northern Gateway. So just a recap on that for the benefit of members of the public that might not be so familiar with it. And as Paul says, we've had a challenging year this year in terms of the impacts of COVID and so on, but we are on track to complete very shortly and to complete all of the highway works and to have this facility open in March for people. Having already taken the decision to delay that opening last month in terms of the outlook of that, and that's more recently proven to be a very sensible decision, but we're very much looking forward to people being able to get up there and enjoy the facility. So we've talked about most of that, and just to recap that in the initial COVID period, there was a complete shutdown of the site that caused a delay during April. And then, as we know, since then, we've had the safe operating procedures in place. And this site, like all construction sites, is back up and running, but construction does not work like it did in the pre-COVID era, where you've got social distancing and all sorts of other measures that just make construction take that little bit longer. And so that's largely why we are where we are. But now very close to what's become a slightly longer project than we'd hoped, but we are at the light at the end of the tunnel. So this is the end stretch.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I mean, we should, for the record, just acknowledge this. And of course, in terms of funding and budget envelope and the dealings you have to have with your suppliers and your supply chain, of course, we understand that you'll professionally allow for what's appropriate when it comes to the impacts of COVID, to the extent that they unavoidably, force majeure or otherwise, create conditions and costs which you have to accept. And I know my colleagues and I have dealt with this elsewhere, absolutely accept that. We look forward to sort of, if you like, a conclusion of the project that takes account of that, as well as any other additional works. I have a couple of points just for very briefly, and then see if there's any other comments. I think I know on behalf of all my colleagues how much we look forward to this being opened. We've given you approval for signage recently as an obvious addition to scope to ensure that we signpost on the site and to the site in the right way to the different sports. If you want to say a couple of words about that, and although I know it'll probably be next year, there will be a lot of interest from Cabinet, other members and the public in that aspect of public access and sport by sport access. And I'd like to leave you with opportunity to talk about how you're going to approach that, but at some stage we would want to see an update on how you're going to handle that. So you go from step by step through all the sports, really make sure the public do understand or are invited to understand the site, and that it is not, as you've said, for elite only. This is for the public, the great British, the great Colchester public. So we'd like to talk about signage and PR, and then that access for all piece, and then take away the action, please, Richard, to arrange for an update, perhaps to leadership, Mark, if that's okay, at another occasion.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So if I start, and if I miss anything, if Paul wants to jump in, and maybe I'll steal his thunder this time. But signage, yes, so signage is progressing. So a planning application is going to be made for the signage. The considerations there are normally public amenity and highway safety. So the key thing would be the arrival sign, I'll call it, which it will be the larger sign that announces the sports park facing the A12, will be probably the one of the most interest. But then there's wayfinding that will eventually roll out across the whole of the Northern Gateway to link it all up and to direct people around the Northern Gateway using sustainable modes of transport, importantly as well. So one of the key things coming on to the use of the sports park is it's a 76-hectare site, but it also links directly into the countryside and the existing footpath, cycleway and bridleway network. So it's not just about coming to the sports park and using the sports park facilities, but using it as access to a much larger site, and then coming back to the sports park as a base. So sports by sports, the cycling has a 1.6 kilometre, 1 mile closed circuit track on site. There are a number of next generation artificial pitches that can be used for a number of sports. Rugby is one of the key sports that moves up. So vacating the Mill Road site is Colchester Rugby Football Club, and they have a building up at the site because the sports park is not just one building but a collection. We have a gymnasium there. We have archery that again is relocating from the Mill Road site. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the Access for All facility there and the Learn to Ride park space for safer cycling, but also the coach on site to help with that, and access for children, adults, people of all abilities, basically catered for amongst those various sports.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from members? In which case, I think we seem to be content. Thank you very much, both of you. And that discharges also, thank you, Teresa, item 10, to which we're asked to make any comments and questions. I think we've done that. Invite the committee to note the update. I'm going to take it that we are content to note that update, a mixture of paper and oral. Thank you very much. And the action, Andrew, you've got, you know, the interest in that connectivity to beyond the site as well. And we've had separate discussions, exchanges about this, and making sure that people know where to go is going to be something that you could start some months ahead, I think, and build an anticipation about what access will mean. I know you're looking at school, Alistair is at least, at schools and connection in the community. That will really matter to us across Colchester, perhaps in particular North Colchester because of the accessibility, but across Colchester. We really want to make sure we build between us, and members here are a real asset to you, really build a sense of anticipation and connection to that site when it opens, as we hope it will, COVID allowing, of course, in March. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us. I'm looking for any other raised hands. I know the mood of, you know, the mood of this committee. This is fantastic work, many, many years in the making, and we are tantalizingly close to a conclusion. We want to finish it well and launch it well. Thank you very much indeed. If there's nothing else, then I'm going to go to Northern
Councillor
Gateway.
Higgins has a hand raised, Chairman.
Oh, sorry, Teresa, please. Thank you.
I was just going to say, and following what you've said, Chairman, as well, is just to thank all the officers for the hard work that they put in all this, because I know the COVID-19 restrictions has made it very difficult for them. But I think ultimately this will be a fantastic facility. I mean, I'm a cycling fan, and I've been watching, you know, the Vuelta and the Tour de France and the Giro and all that sort of stuff. And our twin town of Imola was able to host the World Championships at very short notice. And I think with all these facilities that we put in place, we will be able to eventually do such a thing, and it will bring such a asset to the town. So I just want to publicly thank all the officers and all the officers behind the scenes who are working so hard to make sure that all our contractors are working properly, that it's a safe environment for everybody, but they will deliver the most fantastic facility at the end of this all.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Richard, I'm sure you'll note that as a shared sentiment expressed for us by Councillor Higgins. Thank you very much. Northern Gateway South, thank you again for the comments in the paper. To save us repeating it, and you introduced it, can I ask Paul Smith if there's anything that he wants to add to what's in the paper, and any questions then from members?
I think it is the statement that Colchester Northern Gateway is a significant extension to Colchester that is based on leisure. We've spent a lot of time talking about the sports park, but what we deem as the Northern Gateway South is absolutely paramount to the successful sustainability of the Colchester Northern Gateway. So just to remind members and members of the general public that this is going to have a medical centre, a 260 unit care village, 350 new homes, of which 30% of those will be affordable homes, and currently 45,000 square metres of commercial space. And in addition to that, we have that magnificent walk, what was formerly called the Boulevard, which is currently being built right now. And we have the benefit of a heat network, something that's going to be very much of a pathfinding heat network for sustainable heat. And that is going to be really quite innovative in this country. So really, I just wanted to confirm that that is an amazing scheme that the council is bringing forward. And in addition to that, we've talked about cycling, And this is going to link into the Sustainable Transport Plan and the rapid transit system. So I think that we must remember that this is going to be really creating that rapid transit link from the northern part of Colchester, from the Park and Ride, and actually further extend that into the heart of Colchester. That's all I want to add at the present time, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any comments or questions from members?
Chairman, Councillor Corey has his hand raised.
Mark, please.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, David, and thank you to the whole team. The whole Northern Gateway site is fantastic, really. It's the sports site we've just talked about. Teresa accentuated the positives of that, and I really look forward to going there with friends and family post-COVID and enjoying that. But the Northern Gateway as a whole, as Paul has just explained, offers so many different things to our residents, to residents, whether they're finding a new home there or older residents who are finding sheltered and assisted living accommodation there. It ticks the main key priorities that we have as a council. It's pushing forward the green agenda with that revolutionary heat network, the biggest across the country, backed by government. It delivers on health and that health community there, that health campus looking after people. And it delivers on providing homes with an affordable tally of 30%, which is way beyond what the market usually delivers. So that is really good to get people started in a community with their homes. And it's going to be a safe community, a vibrant community, an active community with a sports park on its doorstep. So that really shows that when we have the opportunity as a council, when we have the opportunity to be the developer, we come up with innovative ways in which we can deliver for our people to bring in extra external investment and make a fantastic site up there for the people of Colchester and this borough as a wider whole. So I really support this and thank the team for their work on this. And I just say one more thing. This is one of the reasons why we have achieved the 2nd national award this year for our commerciality, for our entrepreneurial skills. That's because we're providing a package that delivers investment as well as some profit to the council, where we can then put it into things like the sports park and other great offers for the people of Colchester, because we have, instead of facing cuts and just delivering them further in our borough, we've actually taken our assets, we've sweated them, we've invested, and actually we're delivering more for the people of Colchester, not less. So thank you and well done to the team.
Thank you, Leader. That's superbly put. I hope that Mr. Vipon, as our Strategic Director, takes to heart that rare thing called praise in the sea of troubles, because this is to be serious. This is challenging. These are challenging schemes and projects, and of course there are knock-on effects and delays which are acknowledged here between one part of the equation and another. But absolutely right, Mark. Thank you for saying it so well. Could I say just to the team that to Paul T. Smith, I think the other thing I take away from this brief conversation, subject to any other remarks, is that importance of seeing this as sort of pieces of a whole, and that there is a mutual support in the volumes of households and humanity that will give strength to each part of the equation that over the years, now coming closer to fruition, is our Northern Gateway development. And of course we have, not on the agenda for today, we have Turnstone too, and I see that in the same kind of light, that when we talk about the viability of projects, we don't go into any one detail of any one part of the whole. Clearly the need for housing that we meet here, and as you described it, Mark, affordable housing included, is that acknowledgement creates a population presence here and a commercial presence here that in turn is clearly sustaining demand, commercial demand and commercial investment, and that's where we get a virtuous circle. It's a long time coming, and I applaud those who started this off long before my time. Some of you, Mark and Teresa, have been here along the journey. Happy to be with you at the close, he says. All right, thank you very much. If there's nothing else on that item, Ian, you've shown, please.
If I may, Chair, just to say I will take those compliments back to the team. It's been a fantastic effort on behalf of a whole range of people in the council, both to win the award of Commercial Council of the Year, but also now the Entrepreneurial Council of the Year. They're two fantastic awards, but they just recognise the hard work over many years, both from individuals who work for the council, but also individuals who work for the Amphora companies under Paul. And it's the combination of those efforts, I think, from if you like, those different aspects that have enabled the council to be recognised for all the work that has been done and done in what has proved to be an extremely difficult year. I mean, clearly for all businesses throughout the economy, but also for ourselves in getting projects to move forward in this particular year. So I will take those compliments back, but they are taken on behalf of a significant number of people, colleagues working in the council who've done a splendid job. Several years.
Thank you, Ian. And please note for the record, Richard and Ian, please do note that we spent some time talking about this, because these moments in truth come by occasionally. We'll hope you'll continue to win awards, Paul Smith and colleagues, year on year, and with your help, Ian. But certainly it's a fantastic achievement, and we want to hold the pace and hold the standard. But let's relish it really as an acknowledgement of supreme work over a long period of time. Reputations are built slowly, sometimes painfully, and of course the trick then is, like so much else, to sustain it. But it's it's something that genuinely I really appreciate your willingness to pass that message on. I want those involved to hear that we've acknowledged it, the leader included. Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, then thank you for that, Ian. Then we'll go to town centre, where a particular favourite of mine is Jack's, but I won't go into detail why it is. I'm like Councillor Higgins, I'm really pleased that a complex project's got to its close for the benefits that offers, as addressed elsewhere. There is an awful lot of promise in here too, about the future, not least the first starts on using accelerated funding from the town deal to make a start and getting ready on St Nicholas Square. Again, perhaps Ian, I might give you the opportunity. Is there anything you'd like to draw out of this for members of the public over and beyond what's stated?
Thank you, Chair. I mean, all I would say and echo again is that as we know, we have now submitted the town deal to government with a bid which, although on the face value is asking government for 25 million, is in effect quadrupling that in terms of the potential investment into Colchester. There is a range of schemes in the town deal which impacts not just on the town centre, but right across the urban area of the town, and particularly areas like Greenstead. So it's a fantastic opportunity. I am really pleased that the team have put together a fantastic bid, and that's been led by the town deal board with a number of people from a range of organisations across Colchester. So a really good piece of work, and I think we're really optimistic that that will deliver for Colchester a fantastic boost, a kick to the local economy just when it needs it most. So we're really hopeful that government will support that, and look forward to taking that forward. Thank you, David.
Thank you. That's very well said. As the leader and others know, timing couldn't be better. We're at a point of accelerated change and challenge, and having the possibility of significant investment and then the multiplier effect you described, that's really, frankly, timely. It will take time, of course, to embed. We'll have to have a conversation about how we review, keep an eye on that, how we judge that as a council, as a key contributor and manager of that process through this committee or otherwise. but it is an extraordinary opportunity to have in terms of what we've, as a supplement to what we're already doing as listed here. So thank you again to you and the team, to all those involved with the bid. I take the other items, if I may, by exception. So there are East Colchester. All of these are important, but they are described. The digital strategy, I can't personally wait until we get fibre to the house up to where I am in Chesterwell, and others will feel the same. Any questions or queries on the balance of the key items from any? No? Okay, thank you very much indeed. In which case, a final call for comments on this paper. And there is a lot in the detail in support of it, including a reminder to us in 10 about why we do what we do here in Colchester, which the leader described before. It's to raise money, and it's good to see it described why there are benefits financially here. So this is a programme of investment that's underpinned by principles of return. And at the close of the document, touched on, I think, by our conversation, there is a summary mostly concentrating on spend and addressed elsewhere for Cabinet. I don't intend to have a further conversation unless we need, but I'm happy to have one if we do. Any other questions or queries or supplementary points from any? Teresa.
Just to say, Chairman, that in the appendix, it gives the details of the RAG status. And some people may fuss a bit about the amber ones, but I think those ones are due to COVID, and this is mainly a financial reporting system. But actually, those projects are progressing as as fast as they can, and they'll be coming out of that status. So I just thought we ought to make sure that that's mentioned somewhere.
Thank you very much. I'll go to Paul Cook, who's lit up his screen in anticipation of that opportunity. Paul, perhaps you could talk to how we intend in the balance of the year up to submission for council next year, how we intend to play capital reporting, including this.
Yes, thank you, David. As we build up to January Cabinet with setting the budget and capital programme for next year, we are taking some items to Cabinet this month. So I think we've already mentioned signage, and we have some additional costs on risk schemes that we're taking up to Cabinet this month. But we are doing a complete reset of the capital programme that will report up in January next year, and then on to Budget Council with an emphasis on a continuing high level of investment to promote recovery and develop our services. So I think there will be a lot of good news in that report in January. We're working quite hard to get all the figures together, given the overall financial difficulties.
Thank you very much, Paul. Any questions for Paul while we have him here? No, I see none. Paul, thank you very much indeed. We'll, as a Cabinet, for those watching or who pick up this later on, this is one opportunity to look at capital and in a transparent way have a discussion with officers and those who lead this. There are others, and as you've mentioned, Paul, one of those is just this month at Cabinet, and we will be back to this later this year and into the next year ahead of full exposure again, scrutiny, other places, and full council itself. But it is great to have, perhaps my final words on this, it's great to have programmes of real ambition that have made really substantial progress. And many of these here are at the matured point, and we can look forward to their impact positively, both for our income in the longer term, which helps fuel services, but also in terms of the quality of offer that we're able to provide visitors. And that matters increasingly to an interdependent economy as well as our own residents. So my thanks to all of those involved. Teresa, you showed. You're muted at the moment.
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay then, thank you very much. I close those items, and Richard, deals with item 9 and 10.
Yep.
Then we go to item 11, which is where we head to the confidential part of our business.
That's no longer necessary, Chairman. As we've approved the minutes, we just need to invite the committee to note the report.
Thank you. We so invite. Would everybody indicate their contentment one more time? Thank you. Thank you. So, Richard, on that basis,
Chairman, the meeting can be closed.
Goodness me, how good is that? He says. For anybody watching, I hope it was fun. And for anybody who watches it later, I hope it's readable, listenable. And to all of you, thank you all very much for your time. The effort, I don't underestimate in getting together as ever the latest position. It's an important formality and public test of what we're doing, as well as an opportunity to say out loud, there is a lot of great stuff being done in Colchester, which officers, members of any persuasion, because this has full support across the council, as well as the administration, can all take some pride in. So thank you all very much indeed, and return you to what's left of your evening. Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you, Jack.